Joseph Holt was a United Irish general and leader of a large guerrilla force which fought against British troops in County Wicklow from June to October 1798. He was exiled in 1799 to the colony of New South Wales, where he worked as a farm manager for NSW Corp Paymaster Captain William Cox, and later returned to Ireland in 1814. Background: Holt was one of 6 sons of John Holt, a farmer in County Wicklow. The Holt family were Protestant loyalists in Ballydaniel near Redcross who arrived in Ireland as Elizabethan planters under James I. Holt, upon marrying Hester Long in 1782, set himself up as a farmer in the vicinity of Roundwood. He joined the Irish Volunteers in the 1780s and held a number of minor public offices such as an inspector of wool and cloth, but became involved in law enforcement as a sub-constable, billet master for the militia and a bounty hunter. Holt was involved in the Battle of Vinegar Hill, which was an engagement during the Irish Rebellion of 1798 on the 21st of June 1798, when over 15,000 British soldiers launched an attack on Vinegar Hill outside Enniscorthy, County Wexford. First trial. Despite Holt's apparent loyalism, he became a member of the Society of United Irishmen in 1797 and gradually began to attract suspicion until finally in May 1798, his house was burned down by the militia of Fermanagh, instigated by the local landlord, Thomas Hugo, who owed Holt a sum of money. Holt then took to the Wicklow Mountains, gradually assuming a position of prominence with the United Irish, mostly Catholic rebels. Avoiding pitched battles, Holt led a fierce campaign of raids and ambushes against loyalist military targets in Wicklow, striking at will and reducing government influence in the county to urban strongholds. The defeat of the County Wexford rebels at Vinegar Hill on the 21st of June saw surviving rebel factions heading towards the Wicklow Mountains to link up with Holt's forces. Emerging to meet them, Holt was given much of the credit for the planning of the ambush and defeat of a pursuing force of 200 British cavalry at Ballyelis on the 30th of June, 1798. However, the subsequent Midlands campaign to revive the rebellion was a disaster, and Holt was lucky to escape with his life back to the safety of the Wicklow Mountains. Holt rallied the remaining rebels and continued his United Irish guerrilla campaign as before, allegedly even solving gunpowder shortages by inventing his own concoction known as Holt's mixture, eluding a number of large-scale sweeps into the mountains by the army following the collapse of the Rising. Holt, together with his younger rebel captain Michael Dwyer, tied down thousands of troops, and his forces were augmented by a steady supply of recruits, a significant proportion of whom were deserters from the militia. Surrender. Holt had largely held out in expectation of the arrival of French aid, but news of the defeat of the French at the Ballinamuck, together with his ill health brought about by the hardships of his fugitive life, age and family considerations, prompted Holt to initiate contact through intermediaries, as his wife, Hester Long's sister, worked at Powers Court for Lord Richard Wingfield, 4th Viscount Powers Court, with the Dublin Castle authorities with a view to a negotiated surrender. Dublin Castle was eager to end the rebellion in Wicklow and allow him exile after incarceration in the Birmingham Tower without trial in New South Wales. Bank of Ireland Peter Latouche paid for his pregnant wife Hester and firstborn son Joshua Holt's passage, and for their daughter Mary Ann to be educated in Ireland. Transportation. Holt went out on the Minerva, and on it met Captain William Cox, who had been appointed Paymaster of the New South Wales Corps. The ship arrived at Sydney on the 11th of January 1800, and shortly afterwards Holt agreed to manage Captain Cox's farm. He always claimed in Australia that he was a political exile and not a convict. In September 1800 he was arrested on suspicion of being concerned in a plot against the government, but was soon afterwards released as no evidence could be found against him. He was successful in his management for Cox, and afterwards bought land for himself, which eventually yielded him a competence. In 1804 a group of convicts plotted to overthrow a garrison at Parramatta and head up the river to take a ship and sail back to Ireland and escape. But Holt distanced himself from the plot after he learned that the position had been compromised by an informant. In April 1804 he was exiled to Norfolk Island and put to hard labour. After he had been there 14 weeks, Governor King sent instructions that he should be recalled to New South Wales, but delays occurred and it was not until February 1806 that he arrived at Sydney again. Pardon. In June 1809 Holt received a free pardon, but as this had been given after the arrest of Governor Bligh, it had to be handed into the government when Governor Macquarie arrived. Holt, however, was officially pardoned on the 1st of January 1811 and in December 1812, having sold some of his land and stock. With his wife and younger son took passage to Europe on the Isabella. Also on board was Henry Brown Hayes. The ship was wrecked by a reef, so the passengers and crew were landed at Eagle Island, one of the Falkland Islands, and Holt showed great resolution and ingenuity in making the best of the conditions on the island. He was rescued on the 4th of April 1813 but did not reach England until the 22nd of February 1814 as he went via the United States. Holt retired to Ireland where he lived for the rest of his life, but regretted he had left Australia. He died at Kingstown, now Dunleary, near Dublin on the 16th of May 1826 and is buried in Carrickbrennan Churchyard, Monkstown. He was a man of great courage and force of character, a good leader of men. His elder son Joshua Holt married and remained in New South Wales, and the younger son Joseph Harrison Holt also went via the United States after his father's 1826 death.